Welcome back to Outside Views, and I want to talk to you today about something that is not just a headline, it's a stark, undeniable symbol of a self-inflicted wound. The news that the World Travel and Tourism Council, the WTTC, a major global group, is planning to pack up its headquarters in the UK and move to the European Union. And this isn't just one company changing address. This is the latest high-profile departure in what has become a depressing and steady stream of organizations of money and influence simply leaving the country. And let's be absolutely clear about why this is happening. It's happening because of Brexit. The chairman of the WTTC, Manfredi Lefebvre, basically said so, citing Brexit as one of the main factors in their decision. And his reasoning is a perfect summary of everything the Brexit campaign promised wouldn't happen and everything critics warned absolutely would. He speaks of wanting to relocate to benefit from lower operational costs and EU single market access. Lower operational costs outside the UK. Single market access, which the UK intentionally forfeited. It's a slap in the face with a hard, cold dose of economic reality. Everybody was promised a global Britain, a hub for international business, free from the shackles of Brussels bureaucracy. But what they got was an island nation that is now less competitive, more expensive to operate from, and has erected new, unnecessary barriers to trade and talent. The WTTC has been based in the UK since it was founded. That history, that tradition, that deep-seated tie to London, it wasn't enough to overcome the sheer economic irrationality of the post-Brexit landscape. The reality is that leaving the single market has created a new layer of red tape and friction, and this means higher costs and greater administrative burdens for virtually every business that trades with or through the EU. And for a global group like the WTTC, whose whole mission is about smooth international operation, that friction becomes a direct tax on their business model. Moving to a country like Switzerland, Italy, or Spain, the likely destinations, immediately solves the problem of access and cost. It puts them back inside the ring where the action is, instead of watching from the economically disadvantaged sidelines. Lefebvre also pointed to the advantage of recruitment flexibility of a multilingual talent pool in the EU. And this is another critical element of the lie that was sold to the public. The UK left the system of free movement of people and in doing so created a restrictive and complex immigration system. For international organizations, the ability to effortlessly hire the best, most diverse multilingual talent from across a 27-nation bloc is invaluable. And that flexibility is now gone in the UK. And it's an enormous competitive advantage for the EU that the UK has simply handed to them. They've made it harder for brilliant people to come and work there, and it's no surprise that organizations needing that global talent are moving to where the talent can move freely. But the WTTC is not an isolated incident. This is just the latest nail in the coffin of the UK's former status as the undisputed European financial and business gateway. Think about the others. The Bank of America Merrill Lynch made Dublin its new European headquarters. P&O shifted its ship restoration from the UK to Cyprus. Panasonic moved its European headquarters to the Netherlands. MoneyGram relocated its HQ from London to Brussels. And even the agencies that were already in London, like the European Medicines Agency and the European Banking Authority, were forced to pack up and leave, because they belong inside the EU. And as Dr. Mike Galsworthy noted, it's a depressing list of HQs that have departed. And that list includes huge financial losses. Before Brexit was even technically complete, a report found a staggering £900 billion in financial firms' assets had already been moved out of the UK. £900 billion. And that money, that tax revenue, that economic activity, it all contributes to the prosperity of the new host cities. Frankfurt, Paris, Dublin, Amsterdam, they are all gaining, and it's largely at London's expense. And this massive shift of assets, of staff and influence is not a blip. It's a structural degradation of the UK economy. And the politicians are finally at least starting to admit the obvious. The current Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, has publicly blamed the country's recent economic woes on the ongoing impact of leaving the EU. And the Independent Office for Budget Responsibility, the OBR, has calculated the long-term structural damage, forecasting that Brexit will cause a 4% reduction in the UK's long-term GDP. 4%. And that's an enormous figure when measured against the total size of the economy. It translates to billions in lost income, in less tax revenue for public services, and ultimately lower living standards for everyone. It's an anchor on the nation's future potential. It's the simple mechanism of increased trade friction, the customs checks, the regulatory divergence, rules of origin requirements, which acts like a brake on productivity and efficiency. A country's wealth is heavily dependent on how efficiently it can trade. And when you knowingly make trade with your largest, closest partner harder, you are choosing to make your own country poorer. And the fact that major institutions are citing the need for EU single market access and lower operational costs to justify their move proves that the UK government has fundamentally failed to deliver a compelling alternative. They have not created a dynamic, low-friction global trading hub. Just pointing to unicorns here. They have created an expensive, isolated, and increasingly complicated place to do international business. And what is the political response? We see the Labour Party under Sir Keir Starmer ruling out rejoining the EU, or the single market or the customs union, which would be only hypothetically, in a very complex way, even possible. But instead, they talk of a reset deal with Brussels to try and remove some of the economic barriers. And let's be honest, that is an attempt to achieve a fraction of the benefits of membership without the influence, the representation, or the full seamless access that comes with it. It's an effort to put a small, ineffective bandage on a gaping wound or a plaster. I've just seen some TikToks about British English and American English once again. It's quite interesting for someone being on the outside of both of them, but at least I used to live in the UK. But it demonstrates the depth of the denial and the fear of admitting the scale of the mistake. And the only way to fully remove the barriers caused by Brexit is to reverse the decision that created them. Although that decision can never be reversed, but even joining the EU again would mean a very different membership. But that appears to be politically unthinkable for now, even as the country bleeds assets and influence. And the story of the WTTC leaving is a story of consequences. It's a powerful lesson in the reality of interconnected global economics, right? Yeah? And you cannot simply rip up treaties and dismantle your most important trade relationships without serious long-term economic damage. And the promise of vast new trade deals with distant nations was always a poor substitute for the immense daily volume of trade and investment conducted right on the doorstep. And now, every time a new name is added to that list, Bank of America, Panasonic, and now the World Travel and Tourism Council, it serves as a fresh, painful reminder of the cost of that fantasy. And this move confirms that for global organizations, the EU is the future, and the UK has chosen to be a less significant, less competitive satellite. And it's a tragic irony that in seeking to restore sovereignty, the UK government has merely diminished the country's economic power on the world stage. And this is not just an outside view here. This is the reality playing out before your eyes. And I cannot stress it more often enough. People are always asking, why are you so obsessed with the UK? Brexit is over. Oh, Brexit is not over for a long time, because as long as you feel the consequences, Brexit is not over. And by the way, for those still not getting it, there are still transitional periods running. I just say Euro clearing. The whole damage is not there that will be there. We are not at the end of the whole process yet. And those fantasizing about Farage's Farage government with bringing the real Brexit on WTO terms, that is scary. And not for someone looking at the EU at that point. I do care for the UK. When I was a cadet on the German Air Force Academy, I attended Cranwell. When I was living in the UK, I really liked that place. My step-grandfather, by the way, is Scottish. Or was. Is obviously not there anymore. But I have friends in the UK. I have friends in England. I have friends in Wales. And I do care. And all of this really makes me worry about my friends. And that's why I will continue talking about this topic, about this really, really stupid decision made in 2016 and the consequences, because that will accompany us for a long time. And it will have consequences for my friends in the UK for a long time. Thanks for watching, and of course let me know your thoughts in the comments, and if you want to see another video right now, the next one is right here in the end screen. I'll see you there. I'll be back.